The wind on the Wyoming plains wasn't just passing through, it clawed at the frozen ground, driving dust into your eyes and lungs. Mara bent forward as she walked, her head low against the relentless enemy. She'd stopped counting the days. Time meant nothing when hunger hollowed your stomach and the cold felt like blades between your ribs. Her boots were ruined, the soles split open, driving ice and stone into her raw feet. In her arms she clutched a small bundle wrapped in a shawl. It was everything she owned. Ahead, mountains rose like broken teeth, white with early snow. The bruised sky offered no comfort, only the truth. She would not survive another night. Her knees struck the ground, pain shooting up her leg. She swallowed the cry. Wasting strength was a luxury she didn't have. You keep moving, she whispered. You stop, you die. Then, she saw it, a thin ribbon of smoke twisting upward in the distance. Hope. Where there was smoke, there was fire. Where there was fire, there was shelter. Mara stumbled forward faster, her legs weak but desperate. The shape slowly emerged from the gray. A cabin, rough logs, weathered, dark. A small corral, 2 horses standing with their backs to the storm. No neighbors, no help. If she chose wrong, no one would hear her scream, but the open plains would kill her for certain. By the time she reached the door, her body shook uncontrollably. There was no porch, only a single flat stone set as a step. Her hand hovered over the wood. She knew what men saw when they looked at a woman alone. No horse, no protection. No value except one. The cold settled deeper into her bones. She knocked. The sound vanished in the wind. She knocked again, harder. Please, she whispered. Please. The latch clicked. The door opened slowly. A tall man stood in the doorway, blocking the warm glow behind him. He wore a heavy coat and a worn hat pulled low. A Winchester rested in his hand, steady and ready. He said nothing. He simply looked. His face carried the marks of hard years, lines cut deep by sun and wind. A scar ran from his temple down into his beard. His eyes were dark, sharp, unreadable. Mara tried to speak, but the warmth spilling from the cabin hit her all at once. The world tilted. Help, she rasped. The man's gaze moved past her, scanning the empty plains, watching for danger, watching for lies. When he saw only endless gray, he looked back at her her torn boots, shaking hands, and blue lips. Something shifted in his expression, not pity, something quieter. He stepped aside. Come in, he said, before you freeze on my doorstep. His voice sounded rough, like gravel dragged over stone. Mara stumbled inside. Her knees gave out. He caught her arm long enough to steady her. Sit, he said. The cabin was small but warm. A stove glowed in the corner. A narrow bed stood against one wall. Saddles and tools hung neatly in place. Everything simple, everything clean. He handed her a tin cup of water. She drank too fast and coughed. Then he set a bowl of stew in front of her. Slow, he warned. She tried. She failed. Hunger overruled pride. When the bowl was empty, he studied her again. Where'd you come from, Silver Creek? His brow lifted slightly. That's a long walk. 3 days, maybe more. He noticed the bruises on her wrists, the way she flinched when he moved. You're running, he said. She did not answer. After a moment he nodded. Name's Eli Turner, Mara. He crossed his arms. You can stay tonight. Tomorrow I'll show you the road to the stage route. Her stomach dropped. She would never make it. The silence stretched. Slowly she stood. Mr. Turner, she said, her voice breaking. I can work. I can cook, clean. I'll do whatever you need. He watched her. The truth hovered between them. Finally she whispered the words she had spoken too many times before. I know I'm not worth much, but I'll do anything to stay. The room went still. The fire cracked softly. Eli's jaw tightened. No, he said. The word cut sharp. Not here. There was no desire in his voice, only anger. Anger at the world. Anger at the idea. Mara felt heat rush to her face. I didn't know what else to offer. You shouldn't have to offer anything, he replied. Shelter is shelter. Either a man gives it or he doesn't. For the first time in years, she did not know how to respond. You take the bed, he said. I can sleep on the floor. Bed, she obeyed. As she lay down, exhaustion dragged her under. Her last thought was strange. Maybe she had not survived the plains because she was strong. Maybe she had survived because she had found this place. And this man. Have you ever felt so scared you'd do anything to disappear? That's Mara. She's on the run, her past nipping at her heels like a rabid dog, personified in one very dangerous man. Desperate, she stumbles upon a remote cabin, a potential sanctuary from the storm chasing her. Inside, she finds Eli, a quiet, solitary man living off the grid. He's hesitant at first, but seeing the raw fear in Mara's eyes, he lets her stay. For a fleeting moment, The quiet woods and Eli's calm presence offer a fragile peace. Mara starts to believe she might actually be safe. But the past has a way of catching up. One day, the crunch of gravel announces an unwelcome arrival. Her pursuers are here. They're ruthless, and they want Mara. But they didn't count on one thing: Eli. He's no longer just a stranger offering shelter. He steps between Mara and the men, his quiet demeanor gone, replaced by a steely resolve. He's made his choice. He's not just protecting a guest. He's defending her life, no matter the cost. What secrets is Eli hiding? And will his courage be enough to save them both? To find out what happens next, check out this gripping story. You won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching. Then laughter. You always thought you were better than us, Turner. Another kick. The frame splintered. A gunshot exploded through the night. Mara screamed and dropped flat as the bullet tore through the upper corner of the door, spraying wood across the room. Eli did not flinch. He dropped to one knee and fired once through the broken wood. A man outside shouted in pain. Everything erupted. Gunfire, shouting, boots grinding into snow. Mara pressed her hands over her ears, but the noise still tore through her. Another shot shattered the window. Glass burst inward. Cold air flooded the room. Eli grabbed her arm and pulled her behind the stove. Stay down. They won't stop, she whispered. Not until they get me. They're not getting you, he said. The attackers spread out. She could hear them circling. The storm carried their voices, then suddenly, silence. It was worse than the gunfire. Eli held his breath. So did Mara. A new voice drifted through the night. Smooth, cold, controlled. Eli Turner. Mara's stomach dropped. She knew that voice. Wade Carter, Eli said. I believe we should talk. Mara clutched Eli's sleeve. You can't fight him. I'm not fighting him, Eli said quietly. I'm protecting you. Outside, Wade continued. You have something that belongs to me. Send her out and this ends peacefully. Keep her, and I burn that cabin with both of you inside. Eli stepped toward the wall, staying out of sight. She doesn't belong to anyone, a soft laugh. You always were stubborn. Eli turned to Mara and handed her a revolver. If someone gets past me, you shoot. Her hands trembled. I've never used one. You will if you have to. I might miss, then shoot again. She stared at him. I trust you, he said. No one had ever told her that before. Outside, Wade gave an order. Two men began moving closer. Eli took position near the broken window. The first man crept forward. One shot, he fell. The second dove for cover behind the corral fence. Snow kicked up around him as Eli forced him down. Wade shouted in anger. Mara crouched lower, gripping the revolver. Then a crash behind her. The back door exploded inward. A man rushed inside, gun raised. Mara's mind went blank. Her hands shook as she lifted the revolver. The man just grinned. Boss is going to, he never finished. Eli slammed into him from the side, a blur of motion. The gun skittered across the floor. The two men crashed hard into the wall, a tangle of desperate struggle. The attacker swung wildly, but Eli was faster, driving a fist into his jaw. Once, twice. The man crumpled to the floor. Breathing hard, Eli grabbed Mara's arm. We finished this. They stepped out into the swirling snow. Wade Carter sat there, tall on a dark horse, his eyes as pale and cruel as the winter landscape. You're making a mistake. Wade's voice cut through the wind. Eli didn't flinch. No, you did. Wade's hand moved toward his gun, but Eli was already firing. Wade fell from the saddle into the snow. Silence. The remaining men were frozen, watching pick him up. Eli's voice was calm but firm. Take him back. Tell anyone who asks. She's free. No one argued. They lifted their fallen leader and rode away, swallowed by the storm. The world grew quiet. Mara stood beside Eli, a tremor running through her. Why, she whispered, the word barely audible. He looked at her, his gaze steady. Because no one should have to walk through a storm believing they're nothing. Tears welled in her eyes. For the first time in years, she felt something warm bloom in her chest. Hope. The snow began to fall gently now. What happens now? She asked. Eli looked from the cabin back to her. Now, you stay, you heal. After that, we figure out the rest together. She nodded, a profound sense of safety washing over her. And for the first time in a very long time, Eli smiled. Come on, he said softly. You're freezing. She followed him inside. The storm was ending. And for the first time, Mara was no longer running. The wind howled a song I never wanted to hear. It tore at the world outside my window, a world that had been my home just moments before. I remember the splintering sound of wood, the shatter of glass, and then, a profound, terrifying silence. When the dawn broke, it revealed a landscape of ghosts. Trees stripped bare, houses turned to splinters. My own home, a place of warmth and memory, was gone. Everything was gone. All that remained was the grey sky and the cold, damp earth beneath my feet. In those first hours, I was just a ghost myself, wandering through the debris of my own life. I saw others, faces etched with the same disbelief, the same hollow ache. We were strangers, bound together by a shared nightmare. I remember seeing an old man, his hands gently trying to piece together a shattered teacup, his wife's favorite, and a young girl, clutching a soaked, muddy teddy bear as if it were the last anchor in a world swept away. We didn't speak much at first. Words felt too small for the vastness of our loss. But then, something shifted. A hand reached out, offering a bottle of water. A quiet voice asked, "Are you okay?" A small fire was kindled, a tiny spark of warmth against the overwhelming cold. We started clearing the rubble, not just from our own yards, but from our neighbors too. We were a mosaic of broken pieces, but together we started to form something new. The old man, I learned his name was Arthur, shared stories of his wife. The little girl, Lily, introduced me to her bear Barnaby. Slowly, day by day, the sounds of destruction were replaced by the sounds of rebuilding. Hammers echoed where the wind had screamed. Laughter, hesitant at first, then stronger, filled the spaces where tears had fallen. We weren't just rebuilding houses, we were rebuilding a community. We found our new home not in the structures we raised, but in each other, in the shared meals, the knowing glances, the hands that helped lift a heavy beam. The storm took everything, but it gave us something to. It showed us that even when the world is torn apart, we can find our strength, our hope, and our belonging, right beside one another. Thanks for watching. He nodded. Another silence. Then Mara said, "You gave that chance to me." He looked at her with quiet intensity. "You took it." Winter deepened. Snow fell often. The cabin became a place of warmth and light against endless white. One night, as the fire burned low, Mara spoke. "I'm not afraid anymore." "That's good. I used to think fear was normal. That survival meant being ready to lose everything at any moment. And now I think survival means choosing something better." Eli watched the fire. "You have." She looked at him. "So have you." The hands brushed when she passed him a cup. Neither pulled away. Spring came slowly. The first green pushed through the frozen ground. One morning Mara rode out alone on one of Eli's horses. The wind lifted her hair as she crossed the plains. She felt strong, free. When she returned, Eli stood watching her. "You ride well," he said. "You taught me. I only showed you how to sit in the saddle. You showed me more than that." He stepped closer. "What?" "How to stay." The words hung in the air. For a moment neither spoke, then Eli said quietly, "You don't have to stay. When the road's open, you can go wherever you want." Mara met his eyes. "I know, and I don't want to go." His breath caught. "Why?" She stepped closer. "Because this is the first place that ever felt like home." The wind moved gently across the plains. "And she asked, "Do you want me to stay?" Eli's voice was low. Yes, it was the simplest answer, and the strongest. Months later, a rider came through. He brought news. Wade Carter had lost power in Silver Creek. His men had scattered. His empire had begun to crumble. Mara listened without fear. The past had finally loosened its grip. That evening, she and Eli stood outside as the sun set gold across the plains. "You're free," he said. "I was free the moment you opened that door," he smiled. And this time, when he took her hand, she held on. The wind moved across the Wyoming high plains, but it no longer hunted. It carried warmth. It carried hope. And in a small cabin standing strong against the endless sky, two people who had once been broken began building a life neither had ever believed possible. Spring did not arrive all at once. It came in quiet pieces. Snow softened into mud. Ice broke along the creek. The plains shifted from white to dull brown, then to scattered patches of green. The air no longer cut like knives, but it still carried the memory of winter. Mara woke before sunrise most mornings now. The habit had grown inside her without her noticing. She liked the silence before the world stirred. She liked the feeling that each day was something she was choosing. That morning, the sky was pale and clear. She stepped outside and drew in a deep breath. The wind was gentle. For a long time, she stood there, simply feeling it. Behind her, the cabin door opened. Eli walked out, pulling on his gloves. "You're up early." "I couldn't sleep." He studied her face. "Something bothering you?" She hesitated. "I had a dream. Silver Creek. I was running again." He nodded. "That happens. I thought it was over." "It will be," he said. "But the mind takes longer to believe it." She looked out across the plains. "Do you ever stop remembering?" "No." The honesty surprised her. "But," he added, "the memories lose their teeth." She smiled faintly. They went about their work. The horses needed care, fences needed repair. Life out here did not wait for fears or dreams. By mid-morning, the sun had warmed the ground. Mara was mending a saddle strap when the sound reached her, hoofbeats far off, but steady. Her body reacted before her mind did. Her heart raced. Her hands froze. Eli heard it too. He straightened slowly, eyes narrowing toward the horizon. A single rider, not rushing, not hiding. That made it worse. The rider stopped a short distance away. He raised one hand in greeting. "I come peaceful," he called. Eli did not lower his guard. "State your business." The man dismounted. He looked travel-worn but alert. "My name is Thomas Hale. I bring a message." Mara stepped closer to Eli. "From who?" Eli asked. The man glanced at her. "From Wade Carter." The world seemed to tilt. Eli's voice hardened. "He's got nerve." Hale reached slowly into his coat and pulled out a folded letter. He said to give this to the woman. Eli did not take it. "I'll read it," he said. Hale shook his head. He said only she can. Silence stretched. Finally, Mara stepped forward. "I'll take it." Eli's hand brushed her arm. "You don't have to." "I know," she said. "But I want to." She took the letter. The paper felt heavy, as though it carried the weight of her past. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. The handwriting was sharp and precise. "You should have died in the snow," it began. Her breath caught. "You embarrassed me, you cost me men. But you also cost me something else. Power," she kept reading. "I am not finished. I am rebuilding. And when I return, I will take back what belongs to me, including you." The final line was worse. "Enjoy your borrowed peace." Mara lowered the letter slowly. Eli's jaw clenched. "What does it say?" she told him. The quiet plains suddenly felt smaller. Hale shifted uneasily. "He wanted you to know he's coming." "Why warn us?" Eli asked. The man gave a tired shrug. "Because he wants fear." Mara folded the letter. Her hands were no longer shaking. "Tell him something for me." Halo looked surprised. "What?" She met his eyes. "Tell him I'm not afraid anymore." The man studied her, then nodded. "I will." He mounted his horse and rode away. The silence that followed felt heavier than before. Eli turned to Mara. "We need to prepare for war, for survival." Days changed after that. The calm life they had built did not vanish, but it shifted. Eli reinforced the cabin. He stocked supplies. He showed Mara how to shoot with greater precision, how to track, how to move without sound. She learned fast. Because she was no longer learning to escape, she was learning to stand. One evening, as they watched the sunset, Mara spoke. "If he comes, I don't want to run." "You won't," Eli said. "I want to fight beside you." "You will." She looked at him. "I'm not the same woman who knocked on your door, I know. And you." He smiled slightly. "I'm not the same man who opened it." The wind moved across the plains, carrying the scent of summer. Months passed. Then one night the horses grew restless. Eli woke instantly. Mara was already reaching for her rifle. They stepped outside together. In the distance, shadows moved across the moonlit land. Riders, more than before. This time, Wade Carter was coming. Mara's pulse thundered, but she did not feel fear. She felt something stronger, resolve. Eli looked at her. "Ready," she nodded. "Ready." They stood side by side as the riders approached. The wind rose again across the Wyoming plains, but this time, it did not hunt. This time, it carried the promise of a fight that would decide everything. And Mara no longer intended to survive. She intended to win. The riders came at dusk. The sky burned gold and crimson across the Wyoming plains, the last light stretching long shadows over the land. The wind had risen again, carrying dust and the scent of summer storms. Mara stood beside Eli outside the cabin. She no longer trembled. Months ago she had crossed these plains, hunted and broken. Now she stood tall, rifle steady in her hands, the heavy coat pulled tight around her. The wind moved through her hair, but it no longer felt like an enemy. It felt like something she had survived. "How many?" she asked. Eli studied the horizon. 8, maybe 9 more than last time. "They know we're ready," she nodded. Her heart beat hard, but it was not fear. It was fire. The riders slowed as they approached, spreading wide in a half circle. Dust lifted behind them. At their center rode Wade Carter. He had recovered. His pale eyes locked onto Mara, and a slow smile spread across his face. While he called, "Look at you. You almost look respectable now." Mara did not move. "I was never yours," she said. His smile vanished. "You cost me everything. You did that yourself." The men shifted uneasily. Eli stepped forward. "You've made your point, Carter. Turn around." Wade laughed softly. "I didn't ride all this way to talk." He raised his hand. The attack came instantly. Gunfire exploded across the plains. Mara dropped to one knee beside the fence and fired. One rider fell from the saddle. The air filled with thunder and dust. Horses screamed. Men shouted. Eli moved with calm precision, every shot measured. The fight was chaos. But Mara felt something strange. Clarity. Every lesson Eli had taught her guided her hands. She reloaded without thinking. She moved between cover, steady and focused. This was not the terrified girl who had fled Silver Creek. This was a woman choosing her future. Two riders broke left, trying to circle the cabin. Mara saw them and fired again. One dropped, the other fled. Wade shouted in fury. He rode straight toward them, reckless, desperate. Eli stepped into the open. "Mara," he called. "Stay back." But she did not. She moved beside him. Together Wade drew his gun. For a single moment, the world slowed. Wind, dust, sunlight flashing on steel. Mara saw Eli raise his rifle. Dust devils dance across the sun-scorched earth, and the only law is the one you make yourself. This isn't just a story of the Old West. It's a saga of survival etched into the vast, unforgiving plains. Imagine a lone rider, haunted by a past he can't outrun, facing down ruthless outlaws where every sunset could be his last. But even in this harsh land, hope can bloom like a stubborn desert flower. Amidst the gunfire and grit, an unexpected love story unfolds, proving that the human heart is the wildest frontier of all. Can two souls find solace and build a future when danger lurks behind every canyon rock? Get ready for a journey filled with high-stakes showdowns, breathtaking landscapes, and a romance that defies the odds. This is the West like you've never seen it before. Subscribe for more epic tales.